Welcome back to America Right Now. I'm Tom Basili. You know, if you're traveling with your family at 500 miles an hour in a pressurized aluminum tube at 36,000 feet off the ground, you probably don't care about the race or gender or sexual orientation of the pilot, just whether they are the most qualified. Airlines and now the Federal Aviation Administration are actively pushing to hire workers who suffer, quote, severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric problems, and other mental and physical conditions under the Biden administration's diversity and inclusion hiring initiative spelled out on the agency's website. So is the left's obsession with so-called inclusion now endangering lives? Joining me now is commercial airline pilot and PhD candidate who's specializing in mental health, Captain Sherry Walker. And also with us is aviation expert and former Marine helicopter pilot, JP Tristani. Both of you, welcome. When I read this for the first time, I thought it was like the Babylon Bee. I couldn't believe it. Captain, the airlines are doing this. They're openly discriminating against white men to meet these artificial quotas. Now the FAA is going to hire psychologically compromised people. Will this put people at risk?
You called us both captains, and we both are. I apologize.
I'm sorry. Oh, no. Sherry, go ahead.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think critical race theory has invaded every level of this administration. I mean, look at our military, look at our cabinet secretaries. I mean, after all, Secretary of Transportation, Mr. Buttigieg is himself a diversity hire. So I sense that they're targeting the last remaining meritocracy in our government. And I feel that if we don't do something soon, lives are in danger.
Yeah, you do believe that this could cause, yes or no, you do believe that people
Absolutely.
could be endangered by this. JP, I fly all the time. I fly on a weekly basis. I'm going to get on a plane after the show. I don't know if I want to put my trust in someone who is not physically or mentally or psychologically capable to do a job that involves the airline industry. And I really don't care what it is, whether it's a pilot or an air traffic controller. Are we seeing diversity hires in critical areas like air traffic control?
When I read that report, I was as appalled as Sherry is, and quite frankly shocked. And unfortunately, this has a timeline of the FAA slowly descending down and affecting the DOT. And we're talking about now safety problems. I would have hoped what you called out insofar as what the FAA and the DOT are now requiring for hiring are in the administrative sector and not in the DOT air traffic control sector, where you require individuals with absolute focus, competency, the ability and judgment to act in what is usually an emergency condition when you have aircraft in the problem. Okay. So is the problem developing? Yes, a serious one.
But, you know, I mean, even in administrative decisions that are made by these agencies impact the flight operations. Captain, doesn't this also cut against recruitment? I mean, who wants to work in an environment where you're forced to work with people who may not have the capabilities or the capacity that you have or got their job because of a quota? Could this endanger the whole system?
Well, absolutely. And I honestly want you to understand, I defend anyone with a disability or a member of a protected class with an attribute. There are places in every organization for that. Operationally, however, we need to be hiring the best of the best. And the problem with setting quotas, like one CEO said this week, 50% will be women and people of color rather, is the reverse discrimination that this brings into play. I mean, in 26 years as a captain, I've never felt more pressure than I feel today to defend my abilities, because passengers come on board and they look and they wonder if I'm a diversity hire. And I've been doing this for quite a long time, without bending metal. And so I think our people in the FAA, they deserve that as well.
JP, you know, the airline industry has faced a number of challenges with even some recent accidents and near tragedies. Do you think that this virtue signaling will ultimately be pushed aside because it's just they're just trying to say the right thing to certain customers, or will they continue with this and risk customers losing confidence in the system and in their airlines and in the people who manage the skies over America?
Unfortunately, I, like Sherry, hope that this does not come down to when we have, instead of the biblical laying on of hands, where we then end up with a crash where now we have the laying on of blame. But all of this has a history, a background. Way back in 1997, when the FAA had a collegiate training initiative that actually hired controllers that went directly into the system. And that trumped the previous requirement of just having a high school degree and 3 years of unrelated experience. Then enters Obama in 2008 when he got hired, and he changed it all to an air traffic controller recruitment campaign that dismissed all of these collegiate degrees offhand as not being important. And then you had the entry requirement back to a high school degree, 3 years of unrelated work experience. You're looking at trouble.
It's kind of like it's sort of part of this dumbing down of America, and it's really unfortunate because you may not end up with the best person in the job. Captain Sherry Walker and JP Tristani, thank you very much for being with us, for your insights.
Thank you.
All right, stay with us, folks.